PJ Williams. And that's a lot of talent for this team. Not to mention that their running game has found a little bit of stability after a struggling year from Carlos Williams, a guy who was supposed to come in and be the number one back. I think that Florida State will put up a great fight, but I think Marcus Mariota does what he does best. He doesn't commit mistakes. And at the end of the day, I think mistakes are killer for Florida State. I think Oregon moves on. And I think this is another great game. I think it's another close game. I think both these games are going to be very entertaining, but I've got Oregon and Ohio State in the national championship game.
Yeah, with me, I see an Oregon team bring in the Heisman winner who's going to win this year, Marcus Mariota, absolutely phenomenal player, 38 touchdowns passing along with a ton of yards thrown for, I think it's 3,700, something like that, and then 14 rushing touchdowns. So he is everything to do with this offense. Also a very good running back in Royce Freeman. But the defense is what scares me about this team. You look at the matchup on October 11th at UCLA, who was at the time had just suffered a terrible loss to Utah. UCLA totally disappointing this season. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this team was up 14-4. I think it was 42-14 in the Rose Bowl at UCLA. And then that final score was 42-30. It made you think it was a really tight game. This game was over at halftime, yet they made it close by letting them come back. Same story on the road versus Cal. Cal is not a great team. They're an average team at best. Finished 5-7. They let them get close, and the final score in that one was 59-41. They gave up 41 points to Cal. And then the other game that really showed me that this Oregon team isn't as scary as we think they were, Michigan State. For the first half, Michigan State looked far better than Oregon in Eugene before absolutely falling apart in the second half. But Michigan State stayed close with Oregon in Oregon in that second weekend of college football. And that really showed me Oregon does have a weakness. And also the total exposing flaw was that loss versus Arizona. But then they showed that they could beat that team. What I'm trying to say here is Florida State makes plays when nobody expects them to. Clutch players throughout the offense. Jameis Winston in the fourth quarter is one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the nation. You have Rashad Green, an outstanding senior wide receiver. Nick O'Leary, another senior who should probably win the best tight end in the nation this year. They're both clutch playmakers throughout the offense. You have 5 returning offensive linemen. And this team is going to do it when it counts the most. And that's why I think Florida State wins this game by 3 points in the Rose Bowl. It upsets Oregon. Despite it being a very Oregon-heavy crowd.
I think it's interesting how you and me, I think we look at our favorite teams. Both of our teams are playing in a hostile environment where we are not the favorites, and we both have teams that are very similar, that have been very resilient this year through tough games, and we're both going with them. You know what? It would be fun. Ohio State versus Florida State would be that kind of matchup where it's both teams that have been resilient all year. I think that would be a fun matchup to watch. Okay. I think any of these games, Bama, Oregon has been the final everybody's wanted to see for the past 5 years. Oregon, Ohio State would be a fast-paced, offensive-heavy game. Bama, Florida State would be intriguing as well. Nick Saban taking the tie to the defending champions. Just so many fun matchups that we could have this year. I think we got a great Final Four for that. I think that's so many great storylines.
Yeah, okay, with that next topic, before we move on to our second commercial break, it's going to be the Heisman. Noah's already revealed that he thinks Marcus Mariota is going to win. I think Marcus Mariota is going to win. No real question about this, but who do you think comes in after him? Who gets invited to New York, in your opinion? Because that's the more interesting story, because we both know that Marcus Mariota better win that award, but who, in your opinion, are the 4 or 3 players that deserve to be named the Heisman finalists, Noah?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is the question. I mean, look, it's going. It's gone. It's to Mariota. But the next up, I would say Melvin Gordon still had a bad game. I think Melvin Gordon and Amari Cooper. I think those are the 2 guys who will be invited to New York. I think that we could have one of the biggest landslides we've had in years, and the game against Ohio State all but ended the conversation. And I think Mariota takes it home pretty easily, but Gordon and Cooper are my other 2. I'd love to have Cardale Jones named there, But, I don't think that's a realistic expectation.
Neither do I. For me, I think it should be 4 players. And I think those 4 players should be Melvin Gordon, Dak Prescott, and then Alabama's wide receiver Amari Cooper. I mean, Dak Prescott, like I said, the guy was a front runner for most of the season. And then after losing to Alabama, and then after that loss in the Egg Bowl versus Ole Miss, his name is just virtually gone missing from the college football landscape. But you have to give credit to the guy. Getting a Mississippi State team to where they were 10-2, finishing the season and 7th place in the rankings. A team in which they're playing in the toughest conference in football with all these 3 or 4-star recruits against all these 5-star blue chippers. Give him a lot of credit this year. He did make some mistakes in crucial games, but 24 touchdowns thrown for, only 10 interceptions. And then you look at his running numbers, not as great, but still pretty good for a quarterback. Rushing, I believe he had 13 touchdowns on the season with 939 yards. So definitely think he deserves to go to New York. I don't think he deserves to win it. Then Amari Cooper, outstanding wide receiver, best wide receiver in college football this season, definitely deserves to go. And then Melvin Gordon absolutely got crushed versus Ohio State, but before that had been putting up some absolutely wicked numbers. So I think those 4 are all well-deserving of going to New York. But we'll have to see what happens with that one as well.
Okay, so that about wraps it up. We're going to hit our second commercial break, and we will be right back with some more action. Stay around.
Be sure to tune in to Blake and Noah LA to Chicago weekly on Sunday nights as we cover the biggest news in sports. Topics range from breaking news, trade rumors, score updates, predictions, and of course, our famous Say What segment of the week. Get on Facebook and like the Blake and Noah LA to Chicago page. Also, feel free to text or call in each week.
Kicking it. What are we kicking? A soccer ball. That's right, Infinity Sports Network now has its very own soccer show. Hosted by none other than Jake Leiker, Byron Tollefson, and Noah Tabor. We bring you all the latest news on and off the pitch in the soccer world, whether it be the international or club level. Like us on Facebook at Kicking It. And don't forget to tune in once a week on Spreaker.com/Infinity Sports Network. Listen to us there.
Welcome back, everyone, into Blake and Noah, LA to Chicago, Episode 5. We've covered a lot now into the 68th minute of the show. So, Blake, where are we headed next?
We are going to go our quick NBA segment. It's going to be called Fast Break because me and Noah are going to be running a fast break offense here with high pressure. Going through this very, very quickly. I'm going to run down the scoreboard really quickly. We had a few games going on tonight in the NBA. We're off to a good start to the season, but let's go through those NBA scores right now. Tonight, the first game that ended was Portland versus New York, and that was a game in which New York thoroughly got dominated on their home court, and they got beat by those Trailblazers, who are now 16-4 on the season. Knicks fall to 14-18. Ouch. So then you have the Mavericks taking out the Bucks at home, 125-102. Mavericks improved to 16-6 on the year, while the Bucks fall to 11-11. Thunder got another victory since Kevin Durant returned. They're now 17-3 on the season. 17-13. Whoa, what am I saying? 7-13 on the season, and now the Pistons are 3-18. They won 96-94. Hawks defeated the Nuggets 96-84. Hawks improved to 13-6 on the season, and Nuggets fall to 9-11. Grizzlies defeated the Heat 103-87. The Grizzlies won 16-14, or improved to 16-14. The Heat fell to 9-11. Celtics won 101-93 over the Wizards. They improved to 7-11 on the season. Wizards fall to 13-6. And then right now we have a game going on in LA between the Pelicans and the Lakers. Lakers are 5-15. Pelicans are 8-10. Pelicans lead that one by 20 points going into the fourth quarter, 79-59. And that is your NBA scoreboard for this week. Noah, now let's go on to the standings and going through that.
Yeah, well, it's been a fast and furious start, basically, for the NBA season. Before I go on, we did say we'd update you on New England, San Diego in the NFL. It's 23-14 now. New England just scored a touchdown. But back to the NBA. We'll start in the Eastern Conference, and we'll go with the Atlantic. Toronto leads 15-5, and that's the only team you really need to know about at this second. Brooklyn 8-10, 6 games back. Boston 7-11. New York 4-18. Philadelphia 2-18. One of the worst divisions in basketball right now. In the Central, Cleveland 11-7. Chicago 12-8. They are tied for first. Milwaukee surprisingly in there as well at 11-11. Followed by Indiana. Without Paul George, it hasn't been pretty. 7-13. And then Detroit, the worst team by far, 3-18. In the Southeast, we have Atlanta at 13-6 and Washington at 13-6. Miami, after a start that was a little bit of a surprise, playing very well, starting off 9-7, has lost 4 in a row and is now 9-11. Orlando 9-14, and Charlotte, it just never gets better no matter who they add. They brought in Lance Stevenson, they brought in Noah Vonleh, they already had Al Jefferson, and it just hasn't worked out. They're 5-15. In the Northwest, Portland leading at 16-4. They have been very impressive. Then we've got Denver at 9-11. Oklahoma City, who's won 2 in a row at 7-13, is in third. Utah has lost 8 in a row, the most in the NBA, except for Detroit, who has lost 12 in a row. And then Minnesota in last at 4-15. In the Pacific, we have the best team in the NBA right now, the Golden State Warriors. We have the LA Clippers at 14-5, Phoenix at 12-9, Sacramento at 10-10, the Lakers at 5-15, and then in the Southwest, Houston at 16-4, Memphis at 16-4, San Antonio at 15-5, and Dallas at 16-6. Then New Orleans at 8-10, the best division in basketball. It just looks like nobody in that division can be stopped, save for New Orleans. And that wraps up the NBA standings.
Yeah, so far, right now, it's been really a season in which the stars have been either injured or struggling to find their new route with their new teams. You have LeBron James right now. Cleveland is 11-7. You never know what they're going to get with LeBron. But I think come down the stretch in the NBA season, Cleveland's going to be a very, very dangerous team. Just right now, they're testing out the kinks. And they look really similar to the 2010 Miami team with D. Wade and Chris Bosh, with all the stars with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. Chicago, it's been the season of will Derrick Rose play or will he not play? Because they're waiting on him, and once they have him, I think they're going to fly. He's been playing his last few games, but you never know if he's going to get injured or not. Noah will have a lot to say about that. And then you have the Thunder, who didn't have Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant for a long period of time. They fell to 3-13 at one point. Now they're on a 2-game winning streak and trying to get back in position, but they've fallen really far back. They're already 9 games out in the Northwest Division behind Portland. And then you have Golden State just absolutely dominating this season at 17-2. Great season so far for Steph Curry and David Lee, just playing really, really good despite being as always getting injured as he always seems to be. But they're just a sharp-shooting team where you never know who's going to put up points, but this is a team that has an unstoppable offense. And Houston's been really, really good as well, along with Memphis. So Western Conference, a lot better than the Eastern Conference, as it always seems to be, but a lot of dangerous teams in the West right now, and you don't know what's going to happen with the Thunder and what's going to happen with the Clippers, who have been really up and down as well.
Yeah. You know what? I think the Bulls will be fine. Derrick Rose played 5 games in a row. He's starting to find his feet. The question is, when do they learn to gel together? You know, it is a lot of new pieces as well. Same goes for Cleveland. Once those two teams figure it out, I think they're the 2 best teams in the East. No offense to Toronto, but the star power on those 2 teams, plus the coaching, just seems like a little bit much at this point for that Raptors team. The West, it's anybody's guess. It's anybody's guess. This year, again, it could be anybody. It could be anybody making it out. I'm definitely intrigued to see how this year goes. And I'm excited for the next couple of weeks, see how it goes. But it all comes down to the playoffs. I think that's the important thing to remember. Sure, we have the regular season, but in the NBA, playoffs trump all. It's a bit of an issue, but it's all about the playoffs, and I'm excited to see how those go down as well.
Yeah. Okay, with that being said, Noah, who is the MVP at this point? A lot of people are going to say Anthony Davis, just putting up absolutely great numbers. The big stars, like I said, Kevin Durant has not played enough. I think Derrick Rose just has not played enough. And then LeBron James